Good morning, sisters. We come to you from the Claire studio to share with you some interesting information about our reception of our covenant with the Lord Jesus. I'd like to ask Sister Nora to begin to tell us the story of how we came to revise our constitutions.
We need maybe a quick look back at the past. Our first constitution was gifted to us by the Rochester sisters. It was first printed in 1930, and the title of it was The Constitution of the Sisters of St. Francis of the Congregation of the Holy Rosary. Oops. In 1933, it was reprinted as our first edition using the title Congregation of Our Lady of Lourdes. Both of these copies had in them also the Third Order Rule, which had been approved in 1927. In 1957, preparing for papal abrogation, another edition was printed. This too had the 1927 TOR rule. In 1964, finally, papal approbation had been received, and so a new edition of the Constitution was prepared. That is when the title, Our Covenant with the Lord Jesus, was first applied to the document. I think that's a really important event. When we did this work, I really had no idea that that title was that old. In 1965, Perfecte Caritatis, the Vatican document, was promulgated, calling all religious congregations to take a look at the original intent of their founders. We did that, and so did the total TOR community, resulting in a completely revised rule that we would be using going forward for any constitution revision. In 1977, the fourth edition of the Constitution was presented to the congregation. That also had the 1927 rule because the TOR rule hadn't been officially accepted. But there was an interesting addendum to that rule, which was entitled, and I want to get this right, A Statement of Understanding of the Franciscan Penitential Life. This was the nexus of the new TOR rule. In 1983, the fifth edition of our Constitution was prepared, and this did incorporate much of the philosophy and the theology that was present in the new Third Order Regular Rule. Finally, in 2003, the sixth edition was prepared, bringing us many years later, or a generation later really, to our new 2022 seventh edition of the Rule and Constitutions of the Sisters of St. Francis of Our Lady of Lourdes, otherwise known as Our Covenant with the Lord Jesus.
I think, Sister Nora, that it's kind of exciting that we received approbation for our revised constitutions in the year of the 40th anniversary of the TOR rule. So in a sense, we're celebrating both the independence of our Constitution, but its dependence upon the 1982 TOR rule for the Third Order.
This is true, it's a good point.
Yeah. So let me say a little bit about how we came to make the decision to revise our constitutions. In the former leadership team, the sisters made the decision that it was time to consider the Constitution based on how things were changing in the church, how things had changed in our community, how our history had evolved, how our membership had evolved. And so Sister Mary John, as the leader at the time, appointed 6 sisters to the task of revising the Constitution. Sister Nora Plewicki was our chair. I served as the liaison to the council. The other members were Sister Teresa Darga, Sister Judy Ann Boudry, Sister Laureen Painter, and Sister Grace Allen Urban. Over the next couple of years, we met regularly to revise the Constitution, examining it article by article. Ultimately, we brought that to the sisters in a draft form and then received their feedback. We incorporated the feedback we received from our sisters and prepared a third draft that ultimately went to the chapter delegates. The chapter delegates approved that, at our chapter in
2021.
And we prepared the text then in its final formatted version to go to Rome.
We can't say enough about how invaluable the input of the sisters was when they reviewed the first draft. And we as a committee made every effort to incorporate the suggestions, some of which were extremely insightful. It was impressive at how seriously the sisters took this task to heart, and we took their suggestions to heart also. We also have to thank Sister Sharon Ewart, who was a canonist, who reviewed the entire document for us and pretty much gave it the green light. It was then sent to the Vatican. Of course, there was a span of time which kind of held us up in terms of getting some of the more practical considerations of actually formatting and printing. But that document was approved quite quickly, for which we are extremely grateful, because now we can share it with you.
Approbation came on the Feast of the Annunciation, March 25th, 2022. Then, in earnest, we began to look at formatting of the document. One of the things you'll notice in the new version of our Constitution is that we incorporated the directory into the Constitution as opposed to having it as a side-by-side companion. This way, all of the directory statements as they're related to the articles appear in indented form after each article. We also invited Sister Jane Mary Sorosiak to prepare art based on beautiful quotations taken both from Francis and Clare to enhance the beauty of our constitutions. You see one of those in watercolor behind us. The rest you'll have to wait to see until you receive your Constitution at the celebration of Jubilation on June the 24th.
Thank you, sisters. It's been a pleasure to work on this document. It was a privilege to work on this document. And thank you to each one of you who participated by filling out the surveys and by really encouraging and praying for us. God bless you all.